Good morning, everyone. All right. So, look, we got more of the same, what we've been discussing for the last month, pretty much, with these jiggles up and down. Um, so, yesterday, as I'm sure you know, tensions eased, market went up. This morning, tensions are raised a little bit more, markets are down a little bit, and overall, it's just not going anywhere. Um, whether it's Iran, Israel, the big beautiful bill, tariffs, China, Putin. There's nothing definitive going on. And I guess it's just a wait and see for the most part, and just, what we discussed yesterday. Technical levels, sell the top of the range, buy the bottom of the range. Right now, pretty much stuck in the middle of the range. And that's why SOH, sit on hands. It doesn't mean day trading isn't something we can't do. Of course we can on any day. But what occurred yesterday, you know, in the latter part of the day in the green room as we were looking for some kind of a turn, and we got patterns setting up where, okay, the markets can go up. They just kind of flatlined. They went down a little and pretty much went nowhere. Right? So why should I think today is going to be any different? I don't. Until some other news comes out, right? Some other bomb goes off or some resolution comes to whatever it is in the news. I think we're going in for more of the same. And so we got some economic reports, retail sales this morning, which declined, which, okay, consumer backing off a little bit. Maybe that's a little push for the Fed to consider, which tomorrow we get the announcement on interest rates, which no one believes they're going to do a thing. And of course, we'll listen to what the Fed chair has to say, as we always do, to see which way things might jiggle one way or the other. As you can see, S&P futures here, near the top of the range. So forgetting all of that news stuff that's going on, just looking at this pattern, which we have looked at in the past to say, hey, this is going to go up. This is going to go up. Goes up a little, pulls back. And yesterday being a gap down, close near the high, inside day so far, staying within this range, within an uptrend, would suggest if it can clear these highs, it's going to go up. If it breaks down below these lows, this is going to be some kind of downside move. And depending on what triggers the move lower, it could be significant or vice versa. So more indecision. That's the short answer to all of that. NASDAQ futures, same thing. Uptrend, chopping around, over the last several weeks, a slow grind, what we call a self-correcting uptrend. Why spider under low then? Oh, right now, Dan? Well, because it's doesn't take into consideration the overnight trading. So when we look at the futures, we're seeing overnight trading and we see this kind of a pattern. Whereas right now, and I'll get to that, when we get to the spiders, you'll see it's gapping down under yesterday's low. So again, the futures give us a little bit of a different perspective since we get that overnight trading. Whereas, and we don't always, but most days, well, we always look at the spiders. We don't always look at the Qs and Russell to see where they're gapping. But yeah, when we look at those and we take into consideration the gap, we see that gap down. And of course, that leads to a little bit more of a bearish. Like, that looks like day bar, not overnight. Well, it has to be. It has to be. Yeah, because it's the futures, right? It closed for what, 15 minutes or so? I forget what it is, and then they reopen. And so that's why it looks this way. But well, I'll look at the others. We'll take a look. All right. All right. So this, is where, I was thinking this was on support, and we were looking at this Yesterday is like maybe this one will begin to turn higher. I shifted from this one, didn't work out, meaning I'll get to the other ones, meaning intraday, it looked like it was going to turn up and then it didn't, move down a little bit, didn't go down that much, and just going nowhere. It continues to have this going nowhere pattern. YM, right, weaker. This had moved down on the stable coins, right? Amazon, Walmart, digital coins to buy from them. You don't need American Express. You don't need Visa and MasterCard. So that dragged things down last week. And so this is a more bearish pattern, of course. Big red bar, big red bar, highs, pulling back, major support still here, but overall marking time. All right. So there are our cues. So now gaps. This is the low. This is where it is right now, gapping down to yesterday's low. Okay, it's gapping down to yesterday's low. What does it do within the next 5 to 30 minutes? Does it rally back up? Does it break down here? And so we support resistance and get a little bit of a clearer look. What a mess. I mean, and keep this in mind or capture this, those of you, if you're watching here, um, and or read what I suggested yesterday on the blog post, loose versus tight. I mean, this is such a mess when you have so many pivot highs and pivot lows in basically the same area. It's like a ping pong chart with just haphazard price action, emotional, but in the end going nowhere. Middle of the range, top of the range, bottom of the range. Sit on hands. All right, sit on hands. Uh, we'll see where this goes overall. Okay, uptrend, just noise day to day. Where's this? Gapping down to that low. It's on support. Where does it go from here? And we need more information. Because we'll do spiders, then we'll get to oil and such. So here's the spiders. There's the low, the overnight low. This is the retail sales number. No, it's actually 8 o'clock. That number came out at 8:30, which was market was like, well, who cares? Right? So this is, I guess, just bad data. I'm not sure. Um, anyway, gapping below yesterday's low in the middle of the trading range. I put it in perspective. And just because it gaps below today's low, how significant is it? Well, it's obviously more bearish than it is bullish, but it's not gapping down under a wide range bar. The ranges of these bars are relatively equal. So gapping down here, this, right, that bar's low there is where all this support is. So one event gapping below here is one piece of information. You put it in perspective of the bigger picture, and it's really not a big deal, right? Meaning it's not a reason to initiate a position. It's like that's one piece of information relative to everything else we look at, and it brings us to the same conclusion. Sit on hands, right? News coming, whatever that might be. Call spreads, sure. Uh, is it likely to get back up above there today? I think unlikely. Gapping down from there. So from a very short-term perspective, that does lead us a little bit more toward a call spread scenario as to an inability to get back above there without something to news to motivate it to move in the other direction. Right? So when we get to SPX and put that in perspective, right? So this is tightened up the 5-day and the 14-day average true range, give or take a few cents or the same. So things continue to tighten. And 6,000 is still the middle ground, right? The middle of the range where the high open interest is. Yesterday was like, okay, getting away from 6,000 is likely to drag it back. That was the commentary yesterday, is likely to drag it back to that level. And getting too far below it is likely to pull it back. Now, it's not too far below it. Based on where SPY is, it's right there. Right? And so average range, say 60 points. Um, that's here, 59.40, 60.60. That should be where SPX stays within today, especially since it's opening up in the middle. Right? That's your outside borders, so to speak. And today's strikes, last I checked, right, 10 minutes ago or so, this is what they were, which puts you in a good place. It gives you guidelines where it's unlikely for the S&Ps to get above today or below. And you've got a 20 MA down at the bottom of all of this support. And so unless some new bombs go off, right, which is, of course, is the unknown, it's not going down there today. And it's not going below this level. Right? And it's unlikely it's going above that level either. But things are going to start getting a little tighter. Someday we know it's going to happen. And so there you have the view for today in SPX. Other markets, interest rates, not doing much of anything, right? Middle of the range. Bitcoin, reversal down here. Overall swap back and forth, back and forth. Right? It's a day-to-day flavor of the day. Right? Um, yeah, gold grinding back up, waiting to see what it can do here. Sideways at resistance, I would suggest higher. So far, this part of the chart is in an uptrend, but at the top of the range, sit on your hands. Silver, right? For the longest time, silver did nothing. And finally, we talked about the breakout, suggesting it's going to go higher, and it continues to outperform and should continue up. And all this Middle East stuff, right? Propelled oil up toward resistance. Not quite to the end of it, but yesterday was like, okay, maybe things are going to be okay. And it's extended, of course, and gapping up, came back in, and now it's just like consolidating the gains like anything else would, um, after moving as far as it did in a short amount of time. And other than that, it's, looking around, what's being affected, what's not. Right? Semiconductors have been strong. No significant damage being done there. It is near the top of the range here. And so after all of that spiel, it's we're back to where we ended with the opening slide. Right? Price pattern says sit on hands. However, sit on hands often, majority of the time, equals a great environment for credit spreads. With that being said, I will hand it over to Dan.
Morning. Well, credit spreads are good, provided you don't get a big gap against you. Uh, so we did have a call spread posted in the weekly options trader, which I just sent an adjustment out. I'm saying 30-minute low, whereas in the letter, it did not trigger yesterday because it was under. Right. So now I'm fine with 30-minute low. I'll do it. See here, Raul on YouTube. He's our resident buy setup expert. ETN Hey, that's a breakout, bro. I just called you a buy setup, man. Guess what, Raul? This was the only trade we put on yesterday afternoon. We did some in the morning, and Greg posted this on our social media page. And so we did a half lot, and then you can do the back half over today. So yeah, we're already in that. It looks great. Sophie, it's in this market. It's not quality enough for me. I don't like the gap. It's you don't have a void. It's gapping down. I don't like that one at all. Yeah, Reddit's on my list. Estee Water. Well, that's up a lot. So look at this monster void it left. So I would want to see a 1, 2, 3, but it's worthy of the list for sure. Look at this stone I have in the middle chart here. And this was also an igniting one yesterday. It's on my list, gapping down. This will be a fantastic 1, 2, 3 for tomorrow. Weekly, monthly supportive, or some type of controlled 15-minute buy setup. Interesting. Uh, Reddit, yeah, Reddit's on my list. I posted that in Telegram. It's a big bottoming pattern. And the weekly is a sloppy W. So it supports it. I remember this, a recent IPO, Reddit. Remember, this was the company message board that started the GME short squeeze. And as this thing was rallying in the green room, I kept saying, I don't know what this company's doing to justify this amazing run, but whatever they're doing, shareholders will like it. So now, look, I got these flat MAs, been going chopping around. It's a bottoming pattern, and the weekly supports it. Tomorrow, MT Live, we're talking about um, inverse head and shoulder patterns as a bottoming pattern, and up in any trend, you can have an inverse head and shoulder. So this is not an inverse head and shoulder, but it's a breakout of a bottoming pattern. So that looks good. All right, alarms going off. MPC. Oil we bought yesterday. I had an up alarm go off, but I don't see any prints. NXT was on our list for today, but now with the gap down, taking that off the list. DRI, I think this was we're long this. DRI has earnings the end of the week. Beautiful closing breakout. I don't see any gaps, but we're in it. Looks great. So those are all the alarms. Well, actually, solar's getting hit. So that's when I started my comment. We did do a put spread yesterday on SEDG. We did the 20, 18 and a half, and all the solar stocks are getting hit because the new Senate proposals to phase out the credits a whole lot faster. And one reaction I have to this, I read that they want to end the credits in 2028 instead of 2032, and that's a simplified statement. But if these stocks are getting whacked this friggin' bad, that my immediate thought was, man, that's an unsustainable business model without government support. It's just a tax credit is all. But I guess the market's saying, well, without a credit, I don't want your junk. So we're in that. We're just, kind of managing. Run. This was in the weekend ladder to sell a put spread, and it did not trigger. So good with that. Fizzler was going to be a long, and man, oh man, the 5-minute high saved us on this, because it poked up yesterday morning. And look at this. I changed the entry to over 180. Look at that. So that's what's called dodging a bullet. Um, but that's the problem with news. You can't get around it. Um, let's go to earnings. There's not many apps. 520. It's bullish. That's just sloppy as can be. That's a great example of a horrible quality buy setup. It's retracing from a square top. We want fluid retracing bars. So I got no interest in that. Len, we've been short puts for a while. See this gap breakout bar right there? We shorted the 103s as an earnings trade. So I tightened the stop. I think I gave it to you all. Let me give it again. So we're gonna, I don't know about the spreads on any earnings stock at the open, but as long as it doesn't friggin' tank at the open, then I got like 99% confidence we're gonna have a beautiful gain. Sold them for $1. Yeah, I heard part of Kyle Bass. I actually met him down in Dallas. He's a hedge fund manager out there. Met him through another hedge fund guy, David Tice. All right, so Len actually is a 30-minute high watch now. I would say I'll tell you at 10 o'clock, but if it bobbles around as inside bars, then I like it over Friday's high. Hitty, garbage, breakdown, uh, garbage, Jable, very bullish uptrend with no pattern right now. TEN, we'll come back to it. I like the weekly a lot. Now that's closer to an inverse head and shoulder. I mean, this one poke up here, other than this one poke, that would be textbook. Look at that. The head is a 180 reversal. And then if the week closes like this, you got a 1, 2, 3, target 22 to 24. The TEN looks great to me. I just need to watch it for an entry. We got stone here. Let me put 10 over here. I got Lynn on my other computer. Kirk, this is when I said had it open flattish or up a little, then I would have been bullish as a bottoming pattern. It was up. Now it's down. So no interest. All right, what else I got? Lulu, I've been watching this ever since the gap down. I'm watching this thing. Folks in the green room know that there's times where I'll watch a stock for a month. It's like you will turn eventually, particularly if you're a Wall Street love stock like this one is. So we will trade you. It's just a matter of when I get my setup. TMOS, gapping down. SoftBank said they sold a bunch of shares. Do y'all remember I had this as a short and a call spread right on this day? Breakout failure. And I sure left some money on the table. I bid as a Bitcoin ETF. Look, this could be a big topping pattern now. It's gapping down here to 60. This is not an M top because it doesn't have the symmetry. So we just call it a bearish retest. But on the weekly chart, it has to trade under last week's low for that to be a confirmed reversal. SMCI, I've been watching this for a month or so, and it's doing exactly what I want. The green room knows when this started churning itself up here into this WRB, I said, let it bobble around for another week or two to build a base of support. That's what I like, the weekly. blasted up in a little hook pattern. So I got an alarm at 43.90, and don't worry about it unless the alarm goes off. Am I watching? Yeah, I watch them every day. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, yeah, but he's still strong. So, so this was a potential bearish retest. Remember right here, I was talking about selling calls, but now 3 days later, it's back to bullish. So I'm in no hurry to do anything. But a new toy, a new toy, see, is Circle. Now this one again, there's no pattern, but a recent IPO. It's a ripping. The call, remember, I think I said the 200 calls were $1 for Friday. So, public's focused on it right now, which is driving up the volatility of the options. HIMS, just trading range. I was considering a $55 put spread, but not enough juice. ARM, strong. Sizzlers, Stone, I mentioned. Sam, this was yours from yesterday. AMH. So you can short yesterday's lows, a day trade. Oh, Sam, I know your company, LZB, is reporting earnings tonight, so I know you might be busy putting the final touches on your report. Alex mentioned this. It's a sloppy buy setup, but a nice 180. It is a buy setup by definition. End of story. But the quality, the way it came down in crazy range overlapping bars is what makes it not quality. But it's you can do work yourself a 15-minute buy setup and day trade. It has a void. Couple banks here Greg mentioned yesterday were on my list today. No prints on this one, but I'm sure they're down. These other banks are down. And I see XLF is down. So I got an alarm at 6:30 on Gold Bank, JPM. I have an alarm at 271. Actually, like that on the desk. Number 3. Let me reset this alarm on the other computer. Less than a minute to go. Marriott alarm, I mentioned that yesterday. And I mentioned it in the weekend letter that I was watching a bounce. I would like it. I would like another inside bar or two, but look now. See, that's a confirmed bearish retest. You see, tried to go up last week, range expansion, and it's traded, under 3 weeks lows and has a void. So we just gotta find an entry on the daily. T2, Greg mentioned yesterday. My up alarm went off. That would be a good put spread, but there was no juice. Q's rallying out of the gate here. So I immediately look up and see where the strength is coming from in the fangs. Google is a pseudo 1-2-3 buy setup. That's strong. Netflix coming out of the gate. Don't like the pattern, but powerful uptrends. Those are the only two impressive fangs. So something else is dragging the Qs up. Semis. Spot alarm. That's look at those 3 moving averages. Incredible. Let me check our Lend puts. I'm in it too. Bidding a dime and I heard no bell. Oh, because it's 15. All right, it's 15 by 30 is why. Okay, so I told you I had 90% confidence. All right. Looks great. I'm gonna bid 20 cents for half filled. All right, so out at half. All right, I'll tell them to do the same. So bidding 10 on the back half, but I mean, as of right now, it's still a good candidate for a 30-minute high because say the gap that's holding well, small little bottoming tail. That G, man, there's some damage to these things. That man, that's an ugly gap. And look, pre-market even is tanking. Man, these things are ugly. We dodged a bullet on this one. Well, it didn't trigger. So ugly, ugly, ugly. Wow. DRI up alarm. Look at you go. Nice. Now we can move our stop here. 222.38. Now we only have a third left. UN low alarm. Shoot, that was a little buy side. MPC up alarm. All right, was this our official stop? AQN 576. Yeah. Little water company. Oh, shoot, our B zone, Alex. B zone is not doing so hot. I actually sold some stock at the high, but I still have that long call. But I moved a stop to break even, so it might be at break even right now. I'll keep an eye on it. I like this Apple under the lows. We're already in it. Call spread. Oh, I thought you bought those 2.5 calls. All right. Okay, no worries. All right. AMH alarm. I think that's yours, Sam. Sam, that's yours. Yep. You didn't short yesterday's low. Look at this 10 earnings, bottom right. I said I liked. I just, it's, I think on its own page, it looks great. Question is, when do you want to go in? I mean, I always feel better 30-minute high, particularly on earnings. Let me check puts 18. There are no 18s. BB. The only problem is I like the consolidation and closing breakout. I just see this prior area over here. Are you kidding, Alex? Of course it's long. It's a wide range breakout. I just don't like the target over here, but I love the consolidation. If you could sell a $4 put, I would be all over that. Right. That's what I'm saying. I don't like the void. Um, so $4 puts are only a penny. I don't think so, homie. Okay. Bison. All right, Bison. Uh, yeah, we're at break even. Actually, I'm gonna actually break even is wait 50, 42, 15. All right, yeah, I just killed mine break even at 50. All right, we're done with Bison. But I made money on my long yesterday. Man, I did not get filled on the dime yet. Threes are 15 by 20. MPC alarm. I can stop break even now. Wait, is that too tight? E2, beautiful, 1, 2, 3. And look at that 15-minute chart is amazing. Amazing strength there. Hmm. Housing is trying to stabilize. These land earnings. Put through opens. Dash. We're in a 220.18. The Qs are turning ugly. Yeah, remember I said yesterday, everything's, well, not everything, but most things are focused on this current news, which is Iran bombing. But you still got the budget ramblings going on, and Ukraine and interest rates. So they're always there. It's just a matter of which one are they yakking about the most to put in the forefront of people's heads. And right now the answer is Iran and oil. ETN looking great. Yep, good. Fairly light inventory. So those are all manageable now. BP, up alarm. Yep, still going nowhere. We got a good spread, but it's fine. I have a TEN coming in. Yeah, see, that's why earning stocks, I don't like rushing into them. Look at this little guy. I'll just jump above and kind of, that's too strong for me. But I see what you're looking at. You got two green bars ignored, climb a weekly. But it's that I'm, reluctant. We've been burned trying to fade some of these brick houses.
I like YM also under the low of the day, Alex. The daily chart is more bearish, but both can go down, sure.
Mm-hmm. And let's say 30-minute low, I gave the call spread. So that'd be 599.77.
Now, this tends to be the way it is right now, better setup for 30-minute lows, but they can trigger at 25 minutes. So don't get too hung up on it's got to be 30 minutes. Thing is, right now, I think the markets are hanging here. There's this battle between trading the gap fill possibility, right, or the low of the day, you know, from the bearish gap down, and better to SOH and wait to see which one takes hold here.
Tim is going to Marvel. If my only hesitancy, I like the pattern, Tim. My only hesitancy is I'm not going to do it if the market is not in a good mood. Well, what's a good mood mean? Oil's moving up here. I don't want to fade a falling market. So if the markets are neutral to positive and the semis are, which they are, then 30-minute high. So it's a definite watch here.
SMH just took out the high of the day.
Yeah, I just glanced up at it. Yeah, yeah. So that I'd wait till after 10, but I like the daily weekly. Big bottoming pattern.
Still 3 minutes to go in this 5 minute bar. That's the time frame you're looking at. So we've got some sizable 5 minute bars, but it's 3 minutes to go. It's one of it's a very important thing to have some kind of a timer, be aware of that because we're very susceptible to pressing the button on what we see in the moment. But as an intraday trader, if that bar's not done in 3 minutes, it could be completely different. On the spiders, that 5 minute bar was preceded by a bottoming tail bar that was a type of a correction bar, but it's in a downtrend on the 5 minute. It hasn't taken out the high of the day. So ideally, it backs off a little bit, which it is, and then could take out the high of the day. The gap fill isn't that big of a trade, but if you're a scalper, you know, it's reasonable to think that if it could fill the gap. Set an alert at 5:30 on the Qs. That's the overnight low. I'll do the same for the spiders around 598. The Russell, which is stronger. Now go to the day charts. Regional banks are strong this morning, anyway. But Alex, Dan isn't married. So I guess that's why you got the button for this shock collar. Usually the wife holds the shock collar button. Super microcomputer. It's getting pretty tight. Set an alert above yesterday's high.
I already talked about it pre-market and sent it to Telegram.
Good.
And I said I've been watching it for a month. I got an alarm at 44.
There's a lot of stuff that looks like it could go up, like the market, but just hanging here. Disney is bullish. Cloudflare, Net. This one pulled back a bit. YEXT software pulled back reversal yesterday.
Yeah, someone mentioned Disney yesterday, and my only concern was that's up so much, top of the weekly range. So yeah, I definitely like the SMCI. AD line gap down to -1,000, and it's now -500. So that's been improving.
Oh, two things about AD line. The absolute number is something to consider, but its trend for day traders is maybe more important. I think you got to look at both. Plenty of days can be negative, but if it's trending up,
Right.
meaning it just a negative number shouldn't stop you from thinking long.
Oh no, I yeah, 100% agree. So it's improving, right? So if you're at an extreme, sure. Yeah, semis look the best. So
TTWO, I mentioned yesterday, was a wide range bar. It's starting to form a 1, 2, 3.
my alarm went off. We got UCO. We um we killed our back part yesterday under Friday's low, but look at that moving higher. That might be foretelling of more problems coming in the area.
Wow.
Info, head and shoulders, I mentioned yesterday. Yep, sure is. Yeah, that was on my morning list I looked at. Look at this Pelletier at all-time highs also. Incredible. It's another Wall Street loved one.
You get a little turn here. Still early.